NES Chest.
Hey everyone, NES Chest here, and today I want to talk about some games that I picked up a really long time ago. They're rare games, low print run, but they're not very valuable. And these are games that got kind of mixed reviews. Mixed, very poor actually. But they're games I played through and that I really like. So I want to talk about that because, sometimes we forget those games that just, they don't have that extra polish, or they're not made by a AAA company, but they're fun games, and that's what a game is meant to be. It's just meant to be fun to play. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world to enjoy it. So without further ado, here are 5 titles that I really enjoyed. So the first one, let's start with the shooter, Chaos Field. I was so happy to pick this game up. Developed by Milestone and published by O3 Entertainment, the same guys that gave us the colorful and creative side-scrolling shooter Alien Hominid, Chaos Field is a Japanese bullet hell shooter that was first released on the Dreamcast in Japan, so you get a little bit of a Dreamcast vibe while playing it. The GameCube version, known as Chaos Field Expanded, includes an extra gameplay mode. This is a very difficult game to find in the wild. I've seen it twice, and although it hasn't really risen in price yet, it's my belief that one day it's just going to take off, due to its obscurity, and it's pretty fun. Now, what set this game apart from other bullet hell shooters is the fact that it's essentially just a giant boss rush. There are 5 levels and 3 bosses on each stage. You can change the game setting to original mode, in which there are a few small fodder-like enemies between bosses, and they also change some of the boss attack patterns. Along the same lines of Ikaruga's black and white shifty mechanic, Chaos Field boasts 2 different worlds, a normal one and a chaotic one, which can be changed at the press of a button. Now, in the normal field, your shield is smaller, bullets do less damage, there's not that many enemy projectiles on screen. However, once you move into the Chaos Field, the difficulty ramps up significantly, and now you can rack up huge combo points. So it's this inventive risk-reward type system. Typically, you sit in normal field for a few moments, build up your shield and missile gauge so that you have a larger arsenal when moving to the Chaos Field, and then you go BAM! Move into the Chaos Field and start attacking your opponent. I really enjoy this game. I think it's very well designed. It requires less memorization than Ikaruga. It's more based on reacting fast, and there is a little bit of memorization, but it's not huge. Now, don't get me wrong, Ikaruga is the superior title in terms of music, presentation, design, just overall polish, because Chaos Field is not that polished. But in many respects, it's one of my favorite games to play. I put it in the system a lot, and I always just have fun trying to beat it and rack up a new high score, and I often do get a new high score, so it is a really fun game to play. I highly recommend it. Next game. This game came out early, I think 2002, 2001, 2002, and this is Dragon's Lair 3D. I never really liked Dragon's Lair. I always felt it didn't allow the player to have enough control. I always liked the theme, the high quality art style, the music, and I thought Dirk was a quirky character. Kinda a goofy guy who ends up getting the girl. So in terms of awkwardness, I can definitely relate. But if I wanted to watch a movie, I would do just that, watch a movie. This is supposed to be a video game. And I'm not one to be impressed by graphics alone. So the original Dragon's Lair didn't really interest me. However, with the power of the 6th generation gaming systems and the advent of cel-shaded graphics, a full 3D version of Dirk's Quest was finally realized, and in my opinion, it's a success. The game is a wonderful adventure. Although it didn't receive huge accolades, or lots of sales for that matter, it's very under the radar, and in my journeys I've only seen it once in the wild, the time I picked it up, although I do believe there's around 30,000 copies. There are over 250 rooms in the game, and the art style and feel is excellent. They did such a good job recreating a castle. You really feel like you're in a cartoon. There are many homages back to the original arcade game, and overall I was really immersed in the adventure, and I kept coming back to see what I would find next. I would play through this game again and try and find all the collectibles, because there's lots of little neat secrets and collectibles in the rooms, and it's just a really fun game. Now, the only drawback to the title is the control scheme. It's not intuitive, and for 75% of the playthrough, I kept pressing the wrong buttons to swap between my sword, potions, and running mode. So it was really uncomfortable. You had to use the D-pad, and it wasn't right. A game's supposed to be difficult, and I like difficult games, but it shouldn't be difficult due to poor controls. And that was the case here. Nevertheless, I fully enjoyed the frustration of getting lost in the castle. There are some really neat bonus video features about the history and the makings of Dragon Lair, and the funny song they have at the end credits. It's really good. Now, this is a definite pickup for a collector. It's available on the Xbox and the PS2, but, you know, it's GameCube, and GameCube's always special, so I'd pick it up there. My next game is actually one of my favorites. Now, a lot of people give it a hard time on the internet, and I understand why, and that's Darkened Sky. Okay? Now, Darkened Sky... Now, Darkened Sky is an interesting game if there ever was one. It was produced by an ex-kindergarten teacher named Dale DeSharon. Now, he made educational reading games in the Apple II, Commodore 64, and PC. And one of his games, I Am Mean, has you play in a Doom-style arena, only you gain access to other game areas by reading text and fixing typos. Definitely unique. Now, Dale made connections with a book publishing company named Simon & Schuster. Their interactive division had this idea of paying Mars, who owns the brands M&M and Skittles. Now, Simon & Schuster used this strategy to introduce these popular products in their games in hopes of getting more people to buy their game. They got the use of both licenses, and Darkened Sky used the Skittles brand. Now, the game's ideas were nucleated from this one 1990s Skittles commercial involving Stonehenge, a white horse, and a girl with red hair. There were also some gargoyles. Now, the publisher was adamant that they target the 20-plus-year-olds to boost Skittles sales for that demographic. Now, the game, however, could not be too violent, and for some odd reason, could not contain snakes. Snake-like creatures were okay, but pure snakes were forbidden. From there, a 300-page script was developed for the game by DeSharon and others. Bizarrely enough, they had Linda Larkin, who voiced Princess Jasmine in the Disney's hit Aladdin, do a lot of the voice acting, and she did the voice of Sky.
Thank you, most skillful Zogles. I will take the prism to Ganesh now. I am sure she will be delighted.
Now, the voice acting quality in this game is very high, and in my opinion, it's quite fun to listen to.
If we had a fair trial, I seem to have forgotten it.
Now, the game took 2 years to develop, and the majority of its creation took place in Kiev, Ukraine. That's particularly striking to me when watching the ending credits, because typically the names are Japanese or American. I rarely see games made by Eastern Europeans. By the time the game was finished, Simon & Schuster wanted to do nothing with Skittles, since they were paying Mars for the rights and not the other way around. Unfortunately, the product had been woven into the pre-rendered animations and the magic system in the game, so there was no going back. If this wasn't enough, DeSharon is also known for his involvement in the project lead of the Philips CDI version of Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon, which received some rather less than stellar reviews. In his defense, he was under immense pressure with a small budget, tight timeline, and a very poor piece of hardware. In the end, the game came out remarkably well compared to what it could have been. The expectations were just too high. It's a Zelda game. Now, this game, Darkened Sky, has its flaws too. It is very difficult at the beginning, and some of the tasks are just obscured. You'll be walking around trying to figure out who to talk to next and where to go. Some of the puzzles are just downright incomprehensible. Not only that, but you have to save every few minutes, because if you die, you'll have to start the whole stage over again, and lose all your items. It's very, very easy to die in this game. It really feels like you're playing the game on an emulator. Save, die, reload, kill enemy, save, die, reload, repeat ad nauseum. Now, the fighting is less than stellar, and really could have benefited from a Z targeting system. Attacking birds and bats is a giant headache. With all these bizarre issues and poor design choices, you might ask why I even like the game. Well, it's extremely charming. The game is something special. All that aside, it's about exploring and experiencing new places and meeting new people. You will get immersed in this magical world. It is extremely unique and creative. Now, it plays a little bit like Space Quest on the PC, or those old point-and-click adventures, but it's action, and it's on a console, so it plays more like Ocarina of Time. Now, the dialogue is just downright hilarious at points. It feels just right, and you know what, the game, it's like being in a dream. I swear I've been to some of these places before. They're very imaginative and creative, and when coming up with some of these locations, I just thought, wow. It's definitely one of the tougher games to complete on the system, and since it was sold in such few quantities, there are only a few walkthroughs floating around the internet. That's one of the things I love about this game. So few people have played it, and even fewer have beaten it. I personally find it motivating to play something not many other people have experienced. It's like exploring unknown territory, and you'll get that when you play Darkened Sky. Darkened Sky was published 2002-2003, so it came out early in the GameCube's lifespan. Now, in 2007, there was actually this was released. It was Darkened Sky and Outlaw Golf Combo Pack. So this one's pretty neat. I found it on like a Kijiji locally, and it had been on there for months. Anyway, so I think it's really rare. I don't think it's easy to find, but there are a ton on eBay because like no one really wants it. But what was hilarious in it is that this is Outlaw Golf. Okay, in Outlaw Golf, there's actually a little pamphlet here, and you know what it says? It says get $20 off of Darkened Sky. $20. How much profit are they making on a game if you take $20 off of it? Like, if the game's selling for $40, it's only 20. It's like they must have published so many and they just wanted to get rid of them. I mean, who would buy this combo pack 5 years after the initial release? It's really funny, and that's a neat story. That's why it's important to keep the manuals and have like all the inserts, because you get like a really hilarious story, like this free $20 off Darkened Sky. Oh, so good. This game I'm about to talk about is Trigger Man for the GameCube. It's also available on, I think, the Xbox, and I know for sure the PS2. Trigger Man's hilarious. This game is the only game I've actually bought in a retail store for $2. And that's its price. It's not like I got a deal. That's what people are selling it for. And I love Trigger Man in the sense that it is so bad. Like, it got some of the worst ratings on Metacritic ever. I really think it's almost the worst reviewed GameCube game, or at least the lowest score. People say stay away from it. They wouldn't even take it if someone gave it to them for free or paid them to have it. I thought it was good. And my definition of a good game is a game that I want to play through. It doesn't matter how good the music is or the graphics or, you know, the story or whatever. Is the game fun to play? And I found Trigger Man to be a fun game to play. There's these sequences where you have to run like stealth sequences, and they are hilariously difficult. Like, maybe it was my controller, I don't know, but it took me hours upon hours upon hours, like literally hours, to get through these sequences. You just have to escape. And it's not like in Zelda, the example, Ocarina of Time, you know, when you're trying to stealth around, at least, or maybe Metal Gear Solid as well, there's shadows where you can see where the sentrymen are looking. Here, there's no shadows. You don't know if you're in their point of view or not. So it's like almost a guessing game, and it's like trial and error. But you have to escape from this restaurant, you have to like hide in the bathroom and then run out of the restaurant and in the halls. The game feels like a really awkward B movie. Like, you know, it's just so bad that it's kind of good. So that's really it. People complain a lot about the fact that you run out of bullets really quickly. The game is meant for headshots. You have to go out there and you shoot people in the head. So you sit, you hide, and you shoot them in the head, and then you go to the next place. Like, it's not meant to be like, you know, Time Splitters, you shoot them a bunch in the body, or you do things like that. No, it's all about headshots. And yeah, if you run out of ammo, you can throw knives and stuff like that. Anyway, the game was an enjoyable experience for me. So yeah, if you see it, pick it up, because it's definitely cheap, and it is actually kind of rare. There are around 10,000 copies, so not that easy to find, but it does sit on a shelf pretty long, because no one really wants it. Now, Tube Slider is a game I've only seen once. The name's pretty generic, but the game is actually quite good. Now, Tube Slider is a Japanese port which had a very limited print run in North America. You pilot a vehicle that travels down futuristic tubes. There's no jumps here. Now, I played F-Zero GX and beaten it, and I found Tube Slider to be just as challenging. Maybe I don't understand how to use the tracks to my advantage yet, but it's a pretty tough game. Now, typically it's all about staying on the ground. If you make sharp movements or your ship gets slightly airborne, you lose a lot of speed and time. There are two types of boosts in the game, and before every race you get the choice of which one you'd like to use. You also get to choose your music. Now, the music's kind of hit and miss. Some people really like it, but it's a little Japanese techno, so it's not for everybody. As time progresses, your meter fills up and you can press a button to use your boost. Now, that one option is nice. The other option, your boost meter becomes accessible after you have a minimum amount of energy. This one you can use in spurts, so you can press the button just for a little bit and you can try and refill your gauge later. For experts, I can see this method being more effective because you can really regain speed after every turn if used effectively. Now, one nice feature in the game is that if you sit behind your opponent, you can steal some of their boost energy. The only problem is that they can do the same to you, and that can be really frustrating. Now, there are 2 difficulty settings and a good variety of tracks to master. When you do the Grand Prix, you can actually choose which tracks you want to do first, kind of like Wave Race. Now, this is a very challenging game, but I definitely found it to be a lot of fun, and I often take it for a spin in my GameCube. If you like racers that are a bit more obscure, the Unknown Tube Slider is right down your alley. Well, there you have it. These are 5 GameCube games that received mediocre to poor ratings, but that I personally enjoy. Feedback is always appreciated, and feel free to like and subscribe.